Hey guys, Crypto Trader Vader, doing another crypto trading journal. Thanks for tuning in. I first want to just have a quick look at the Bitcoin chart here, because Bitcoin is crashing. Anyway, some people say it's crashing. It's been going in a pretty downward direction, that's for sure. And let's just get a little bit closer here. Let's go into the daily chart. My personal goal is to grow my holdings of Bitcoin itself. So I'm not so concerned with the dollar price of Bitcoin. It's my firm belief that we'll see another all-time high, and whether that's in the coming months or in the coming years is irrelevant to me. My plan is to keep trading altcoins in the safest way possible, in the most risk-averse way, and grow my holdings in Bitcoin. But you know, you can't ignore the price, and it obviously affects the altcoins as well. And we have some interesting stuff going on now. I'm going to be enjoying looking back on next week. But we have essentially broken through this this support line at around 11,000, which means that we're probably going to be heading in a downward direction. Now, some people might look at this, and I'll just get an arrow here and point to this candle wick down here and say, oh, we haven't broken new ground, so to speak. But we kind of have, because all of these candles have closed above this blue line here. So we have broken new ground. This one closed beneath it. It was really the first candle to do that. And so we're probably going to be seeing a bit more of a decline in the Bitcoin US dollar price. By the way, is my camera working and stuff, or is it jumping around? Because on my screen it looks like it's jumping around, but it may not be. Just hit me up in the chat and let me know. What's going on? Anyway, I'm going to assume it's fine. Let me know if it's not, and we'll do something about it. Okay, so Bitcoin, crazy. Let's move into the alts though. Let's move into the journal. This is ADA. We'll start with this one. If you want to skip to your favorite coin, just scrub through the video, leaving this permanently on the left, so you can scrub through, and wherever it's green is pretty much where I'm analyzing that coin. ADA very much looks like the Bitcoin chart. We see pretty much the same pattern. This huge run up, this decline, and now reaching these new lows. What's exciting for me is that my trading style is to try and find the bottom, and this is where when I first started doing these trading journals, you can go back and look in November, I was very much looking for this 1, 2, 3 bottom formation, which if you're not familiar with, I've explained it pretty much every video, but I'll just do it one more time. The bottom is the 1, and the 1 represents the lowest point. The 2 is the subsequent high from that low, and the 3 is where the price tries to get to the same level as this 1 back here, but fails to get that low. And what it does is it indicates a turnaround in the market is possibly coming up. Of course, nothing's set in stone, and there's a lot of times where this sort of indicator has proven incorrect. However, if you watch closely, if it breaks through the point where this 2 is, it often will start to increase from that point upwards. And that's where I like to enter these trades. So as the market in a lot of these altcoins starts to come down, and hopefully we'll see new lows, or at least relatively new lows. It may not get as low as previous lows back here, but it may very well. It presents another opportunity for us to pick up a lot of these altcoins cheap, and then follow the run up that could follow that. With ADA, what do I think is going to happen? I'm not really sure. I mean, to me, it seems pretty bearish, the whole market at the moment. It's really resting on this 60-day exponential moving average, and it's probably breaking beneath that. So ADA, I'd be bearish on, especially if it starts to break beneath this 8,000k sats, and I'll just pop that in the notes here as well. Last week I had a watch on that one. Alright, let's move on to BCH. Bitcoin Cash. Drawn in some previous points of resistance and support here. Indicated a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here. It's not really a bottom, but you can use the very same technique in kind of a staging situation where, even though it's not the very, very bottom, it's the most recent bottom. 1, 2, 3, broken through and subsequently had a nice run up. Now it's kind of easing back a little bit. It's good to see Bitcoin Cash isn't falling as hard against Bitcoin, which kind of indicates to me that it might be having a good run up coming up. It looks a little bit more bullish than a lot of the alts, I think. If you kind of squint your eyes, you might even see a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here. Excuse me. And although it's not really the sort of formation that I would pick up on, because it is kind of there, isn't it? It looks like it could turn around at this point. I would probably say that if this turns around and turns into a bullish formation, it would have to break this 0.2 mark. If Bitcoin Cash breaks this 0.2 mark, we'll likely be seeing a nice bull run on that one. I'll just make a note of that here. Let me know how you guys are going with trading in the chuck a comment underneath. Let me know what you've been trading and whether you've had some success or maybe you're having a hard time with it. I know this sort of market, you know, in a bearish market, it's a lot harder to make money, let's face it, especially if you're buying and you're selling. It's not a binary market. It's not like Forex where you can kind of make money either way. You either have the asset and pick the right time to sell it, or you don't have it and you have to wait for a buy opportunity. I mean, there's probably markets out there where you can kind of trade in a binary sense in selling and buying, but yeah, let me know how you guys are going. I'm curious to hear about your journeys as well. Let's move on to black coin. Look how far we've come. Wow, black coin really has had these incredible highs in the past. I just want to draw a cheeky line on that. Wow. And of course, where we are now is much, much lower. 1, 2, 3. That's not really a bottom formation. I'm going to remove that. What did I say last week about this one? If less than 5,500 sats equals a bear move. Well, there's the 5,500 sats mark, and this was back in 16th of January, so that was back here on this candle, and it seems to have pretty much done that. So it must have been just above it when I called, and yeah, it looks like it's broken through and it's kind of failed to come back up through this point. So it does look like it's heading in a downward direction. It'll at least hit 3,600 sats, I reckon. I'll say 3,700 sats just to kind of keep a little buffer there. Bitcoin, what is this? BitShares, sorry, not Bitcoin. BitShares, 1, 2, 3 bottom formation there. We're still in the daily chart, so change that back to 4 hour. Huge run up for BitShares, and like a lot of these coins, a deflation. One thing I've noticed about altcoins, I might just make a note of that as well in my diary. The crashes of altcoins against Bitcoin appear to be slow. Like, they're not huge. You have some pump and dumps obviously in the smaller coins, but a lot of these larger coins, you have situations where it inflates relatively quickly, and then it kind of deflates relatively quickly. So it's just something I want to note down. BitShares hit this level of support down here. Made a little bounce off of it. My guess is that it'll probably hit this line again. But if it does turn around, it indicates a kind of 1, 2, 3. So you can see that this could potentially be the start of a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation. Now, if the price kind of stays here and moves upward, the buy point would be at this break of the 2. However, we don't know yet, so I'll put a watch on that one and check that out next week to see what happens with it. Clam coin. I still hold a chunk of clam coin sitting on Just Dice, earning interest. We've got this bottom formation here in clams, and let's just delete some of these arrows here. And also, let me have a look at what I said last week, which was bearish if 72k sats, if less than 72k. And it's definitely less than. It's kind of broken through and tried to get back through that point. It's tried to get up and it's just kind of failed. And now my prediction is it'll probably start to head downward again, which is good for me. I'd like to buy a few more clams. And every time it kind of dips, presents another opportunity. These higher lows, though, does indicate the opposite. So we might have a situation here where this price kind of meanders down to this level. This green line here, and that's between around, what, 63 and maybe 65k sats. Oops, not 36, 63 to 65k sats. Just make a note of that, because if that comes true, it'll be interesting to see if I can pull off a trade on that in an upward direction. Let's move on to Civic. By the way, if there's any coins you want me to check out, chuck it in the chat or the comments, and I'll do my best to take a look at it. Okay, this one's interesting. What did I say? Bearish on this on the 16th, which was right here. Well, I appear to be right. I mean, I was bearish on a lot of different coins last week, so I can't give myself that much credit, but sorry, I just need to move myself around on this cushion. Definitely bearish. It's kind of hit a nice bottom here where it's got some support, and if we look historically, we see that there's been previous support around this level here, here again. It's had a run-ups, crash back down to that same level. And now, of course, hitting that same level again. So could this be the beginning of this staging platform for a lot of these altcoins? Because we're seeing a similar pattern emerging. We're getting this 1, we're getting this 2, and we're getting what looks like the start of a 3. Now, if a lot of these altcoins do start to move back in an upward direction and pass this threshold of the 2, it presents a lovely opportunity, and I'm eager to get on board on a lot of these altcoins if that does happen, because as I said at the start of the video, my goal is to grow my Bitcoin holdings, and pulling off trades where I can make 20%, 50% on a trade. I don't like to use a whole lot in my trading budget because it's ultimately a very risky proposition, and I don't want to risk my main portion of my holdings for trading. So I'm going to watch Civic as well. I'm very curious to see what happens, because both BitShares and Civic and a couple of the other ones I don't remember exactly have these similar formations of possible staging 1, 2, 3 bottom formations. I learned recently about the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation obviously is at the bottom of a chart pattern, where there's a kind of mid-level staging platform where the price has gone up for a run and come back down, and that's where you can kind of start counting or looking for another 1, 2, 3 bottom, although really it's not a bottom, it's kind of intermediary. What do we got here? We've got a support line, kind of, a bit blurry there. bit blurry on the support. There's a lot of support there, and some resistance there. That would indicate that probably lines around here. And we've got something else happening here, which is these lower highs. So every time the price tries to go higher, it fails to breach this green line, which tells me that it's definitely in a bearish trend. And if it does breach this sub 0.065, we're looking for a bearish move on Dash. Bearish if less than 0.065. I said last time it would go sideways, which it pretty much did, so that's good. Decred. Higher lows still. This is a nice bullish looking altcoin. So even though, I mean, what you can see here is that previously, I think on the 16th, right around this point, I drew in this green line, and it did break beneath that, which would indicate usually that it would be turning into a slower or a bearish trend. However, it's picked up some support here and has broken back through the green line and is now kind of resting on it. If we extrapolate this green line to over the top of it, we can see that it's just beneath it. However, the more important thing is that every time it's hit this new low, it's been higher than the previous time. And even though they don't fit along this green line perfectly, Decred is a good long-term hold. I can't believe this is the first time I've noticed that. Look at that beautiful trend upwards. I'm going to be buying me some Decred, I think. I'll just make a note here in my action column. I'll buy a little of that for a long hold because that's a pretty strong indicator. I'll have to wait for a good entry here, and maybe if I see a pullback coming down to kind of these levels, perhaps around 0.007, but that might be wishful thinking. Yes. Moving on to Dogecoin. Dogecoins are definitely in a bearish trend, and it's no surprise because if we look at the history of Dogecoin, if we move back to the daily chart, we can see that every single time it's had this huge spike. This is not just once or twice, guys. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a couple of mini ones in the middle. 6 times it's done the exact same pattern. It's had a big run up with a subsequent decline, and the decline appears to be a lot slower. Now, this time around, just as I predicted back in December, when I bought back at 16 sats, and then I bought again at I think 27 or so. And I sold all of mine at 104 sats, so it was really right, almost at the top. I picked the top relatively well on it, which I don't always do. But I sold some at about 70 or so when I saw it slowing down here. I thought it might be over. So I sold some of my holdings, and I'm glad I held on to a little more to sell at 104. But we can see that it's got a lot of support around this area, and it's right hanging around that support line. Both these lines kind of indicate to me one really thick band of support resistance, because although it can't break through here, it's also can't, the support line is a little lower, so you can kind of look at it as two support and resistance, or you can kind of think of it as one bit more of a thicker one. But my prediction for this is that it's definitely heading in a downward direction. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize for Doge fans out there, but I think the trend will generally be in a downward direction from here. And it might take some time. It might have some spikes up and down. It might crash and then come back. But ultimately, it's going to be heading back downward. And I'll be looking to re-enter this when it gets to the sub 30 sats level. Sub 20 even. Bearish to 30 sats over, let's say, next 2 to 3 months, because it could take some time. Okay, Ethereum. Just want to get the chat open here in case anyone's chatting. Ethereum had a really good bull run. Well, last week I said I was bullish on it, and I'm still bullish on it. It's doing almost like a staging here, although it has had a very fast run up here. It makes me think it could come back a little bit. However, actually, let's pull up another support line here where it's failed to kind of break this point. And it's got another strong resistance band there. I'm bullish on Ethereum looking at this chart. I mean, everything does depend a little bit on what Bitcoin is doing. You know, if Bitcoin has a very strong run up, a lot of the altcoins tend to suffer. If Bitcoin has a I don't know, a less violent move down, the alts suffer, sadly. If Bitcoin does have a violent move down, the alts often suffer. The altcoins tend to suffer a lot with Bitcoin's volatility and seem to prosper with Bitcoin's stability. And I say stability kind of in air quotes almost, because you know, Bitcoin's not certainly not unvolatile in any way. It's super volatile, but when it's less volatile, altcoins do well, in my opinion. Now, what's Ethereum going to be doing? Well, it's tested this point. It's really tested this 0.1 point, right? It's tested this in the past, and you know, had a breakthrough, but then failed to ultimately stay through, and then come up for a second go at it. And when it has, it's breached quite strongly, and over the following couple of days hit 0.15. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar. We see a very similar pattern here. I need to learn how to draw shapes on this thing. But basically, if you look here at this section and keep your eye on that one as you look at this section here, it looks kind of very similar. We've got this spike up, although this one was to the next a bit higher. This one went a little bit higher. Still is dealing with this same 0.1 resistance point though, and we have the same pattern here, although it's a little more conservative. So I mean, I guess, I mean, who knows? I don't know. I certainly don't know. But my gut feeling is, just based on this chart pattern here, where we see a kind of staging platform with the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation, 1, 2, 3, is that if it does breach this 0.1, it won't take us long to see a 0.125 and possibly even a 0.1415. So I'll pop that in my notes. Break, bullish if breaks 0.1, and I'll pop a comma here and say possibly to 0.125, 0.15. I'll keep a close eye on Ethereum. I did close some of my position when it kind of hit the 0.1 mark, or just after that. I think it was 0.095 or 0.094 or something. I closed some of my position on that. Still holding, hopefully continues an upward trend. Now, Expanse coin. Let's have a look. Very similar pattern to a lot of altcoins. Hit a new bottom recently. Back when the alt market was very bullish. Kind of hit a 1, 2, 3 top formation here, which I thought was a 1, 2, 3 top, but it never broke, so that's a good sign. and continues in an upward trend. And if we take a closer look, it's really around this point of support. So if it can kind of stay above this 45k sats or so, we're looking for a bullish trend for expanse. So over 45k sats equals bullish trend. Move on to Factum coin. Almost looks like I'm looking at the same chart. 1, 2, 3, bottom, straight up. Encountering some resistance up here. There we go. And I guess some support here. Probably say I'd move this line slightly down. So where's it going to go? Looks like it's traveling pretty sideways for now. It's hard to tell. Again, we have a similar almost 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here. I know that we're in the daily chart still. I'll move back to 4 hour in a sec, but 1, 2, 3 bottom, very similar to a couple of those other coins. Just delete that one line. I'll redo that line later. So 1 there, the 2 there, the 3 there, 3 possibly here. So it's a bit risky for my trading style, but if it does look like it's turning around, it might be a good entry point here. I like to wait until it proves itself a little more, until it gets past this 470k sats. So I'll pop that in here. 470k sats equals bullish. I'll just say bull run. It's easier. Folding coin. It's kind of failed a little bit, this one. It's not doing the same upward move as a lot of altcoins are. This trend here was breached and appears to be under it now. It's got support at around 335 sats, and failing that, we'll probably see a low of 230. So here, look at this. I said this last week. So less than, I'm literally going to copy that and paste that because it's the exact same situation here. If it breaches this 335 point, we're going to be seeing a bearish trend, likely down to 230 sats or so. And again, this is just my opinion. Don't do any trades based off my opinion. Wow. Game credits. I know that last week I said here bullish 46k sats. I put a star next to it because I was thinking about taking some action on that, and I just watched it a little close. I'm glad I didn't. Bullish if greater than 46 sats. Now that was on the 16th right here. Must have been heading in an upward direction. And yeah, it never broke this point, so I'm glad I didn't take any action on that. Where's it heading now? Who knows? But my guess would be in a downward direction, just based off that very strong trend line down. Where it stopped, nobody knows. GNO. Lovely strong bottom here on Gnosis. Up, 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 up. Nice trend on Gnosis as well. It's breached over that trend and come back and touched it. Maybe it's overcorrecting now. We'll have to wait and see, but it's gained some support around this same 1.016 level. Could even afford to pop that down to 0.01. Yeah, 0.016 still. Where's it heading now? Let's have a look. I mean, it's got more support here, right where it's sitting at the moment. So if it does kind of tend to go maybe lower than 0.018, it's probably going to go lower. Probably a bear move on that too. Lots of bearish directions. Get rid of that less than sign. Less than 0.018. Let's move on to GNT. GNT. Oh, look at this. So last week, around the 16th, we had this flag where we had, you know, the higher lows, but also lower highs. and you know, it indicates which way is the price going to be breaking through the flag. Yeah, we've got basically a little flag formation, a little triangle. Will it break through lower or will it break through higher? And that kind of makes the trend. And because it's broken through, I think I said it here, less than 64, which is right around this point, because it had some support right there. And it did break through it shortly after I called it, and has found new support at around 50. I don't know, probably 5,200 if we want to move that up a little bit. That's where it's hit previously here. So it's right around this mark right now. So I mean, given that this trend is downward, I'd say that I'm bearish on it. However, I would want to see it, breach the sub 5k sats or so. So if it is heading lower, less than 5,000 sats equals bear move on that one. All right, LBC. Excuse me. Okay, what do we got? We've got some support around this level where it's touched twice, and it's right on that line now. Oh, library, you keep breaking my heart. I love the idea of library credits. I think they're probably a good long-term buy, but every time I buy this coin, it goes down, and every time I sell this coin, it goes up. So I'm very contrarian with my calls to library. So really, right now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that's going in a downward trend. It's probably going to head lower. It's touching this line for the second time. It's probably going to go down to about 47. So really, if I wanted to follow my own advice there, I'd sell my holdings now, which is only 1,000 or so library credits, and then I'd buy back up at a lower level to try and increase the amount of library credits that I have. However, because I'm so wrong with library credits, the majority of the time I can't trust myself on this coin. It just seems to go against my calls all the time. So I'm going to put another watch on that, and hopefully it doesn't head lower, because if it heads lower, then I'm losing. But it very well could. Lisk, okay, so very strong on this support line, broke through briefly. What did I say last time? Less than 225k sats equals bull. Greater than 225, I should say. And that's right around this point, so it hasn't breached that. It's stayed lower and continued sideways. So it seems to be having some, a bit of a green trend now. However, seems to be slowing down. Really not sure on this one, although my gut kind of says that it's probably going to be bearish. I'm not going to say that though. I'm just going to pop a watch on this one and see what happens. LTC now. LTC, I made a call a few weeks back now on. I said it's going to be going down. I haven't changed my thoughts on that yet. Lower highs, it's not a good indication. 1, 2, 3 touches now. Let's get rid of this one. I hate to say it, I like Litecoin, but I don't think it's going to be very bullish here in the next few weeks. If I was holding Litecoin, I would probably consider selling. Some of them. Not everything, but just in case that it does kind of plummet down to these 0.014 levels and possibly even lower than that, I'd want to have some free cash to buy up some cheap Litecoin. Wow. Imagine if it gets to 0.01 again. That would be a bargain. Bearish to 0.014. Tempted to put in here. Possibly lower. Alright, NAV coin. NAV coin's a nice coin. I did sell some of my NAV recently though. Higher lows is good. 1, 2 touches. 3, 4. It's really in this upward trend and right on the line of that upward trend now. So what are we going to see? Are we going to see it breaking higher? Are we going to be seeing it breaching this line for the first time in a long time? And if that's the case, we'll probably see it fall back down to lower levels. Just chucking in some resistance and support lines here where I see them to give me an indication of where the coin might fall down to. So if it does break this line, I think it'll probably, it's hard to say whether it'll land 23. I'd say at least to 23, possibly to 21k sats. And I'll be looking at buying some up probably around these levels. I mean, hopefully if it reached 0.018 again, that would be a treat. Pick them up nice and cheap. Analyse go, OMG. Higher lows still. Continuation of this green line here, if we extrapolate that, we're pretty much on the same thing. Look at that. Slightly different, but still pretty much the same. And getting squeezed into this upward triangle where there's a lot of resistance up here as well. Analyse go. I'm bullish on this one. It looks generally like a bullish trend upwards. There's no 1, 2, 3 bottom formations that I can see except for kind of a half one forming, just like a lot of altcoins are almost forming these formations, these staging 1, 2, 3 bottom formations, or these 1, 2, 3 middle formations, if you will, where it failed to reach this low, and that's because it's on this trend line. So my gut says if it does breach this 0.0017 or 170k sats, that we'll probably be seeing new highs on that one. I'll put the greater than 170k sats equals bull run. Rep. Auger. 1, 2, 3 bottom there. Did a strong breakout. Look at this trend line here. It's not really a trend line, it's just twice. However, it is growing pressure, and we've got a top. It's failing to kind of break through this point here. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next. Yeah, okay, this is what's. I mean, it's going to be interesting just to see what happens, because if it does breach this kind of 830k sats mark, it'll probably be heading in an upward direction in that way. Or, what I think is probably more likely is it'll head back down to lower levels before retesting that line. And, yeah, who knows though. Big old question mark on that one. Where's a question mark icon? Don't have one here. Oh my god. There we go. That'll do nicely. That counts as a question mark. Oh, there we go. I just saw it. Here we go. So that'll be just a reminder for me to re-look at that position next week. I'll pop a watch on that one. And let's move on to SIA coin. SIA. What do we got here? We got some more resistance, encountering some resistance there too. There as well. Got some support around that point. Just like to mark off all these points because this is something I've been doing more recently, but it really gives you a good indication of where the price might be heading. I mean, from here, you can never, of course, predict exactly the direction in which it's heading, but if you see a trend forming in a bearish direction, you could probably say with some probability that it's going to have a pause around these lines. Wherever these lines are, the price tends to slow down a little bit. And SEA coin is very much still in an upward direction. It's just, I mean, I remember I put this 1, 2, 3 bottom in back in December, and look at the incredible heights to which it's gone now. I bought at 0.5, I sold at 0.0, I think 4. I sold some of my position, the majority of it. I was well and truly out of it by this point, so that was probably a mistake on my part. Definitely a mistake on my part. And now, of course, it's reaching crazy highs, and it seems to not be stopping. This support here, I mean, if you kind of take out the 2 or 3 candles that are positioned here over the course of one day, really the daily will show you that there's support along this line, and it's touching this point again and seeming to bounce off of a higher level. So once again, we encounter this half 1, 2, 3 bottom formation. It's not really a full formation, but it's kind of a half one. Today's the 23rd of January. I'm thinking I might do another one of these journals a little bit sooner because I really want to see where these bottom formations take off and where they go. I don't want to wait a whole week, so I might come back, say, in 2 or 3 days, and I'll just see where these alts are heading. Let's pop a watch on that one. Until then, Steam. Again, 1, 2, 3 mid formation. I gotta stop calling it the 1, 2, 3 bottom because it's not really a bottom, is it? 1, 2, 3 intermediary staging formation. 1, 2, 3, and if it breaches this point, 4,500 or above, heading bullish again. Greater than, that's less than, greater than 45k equals bull run. Storage. Again, 1, 2, 3 bottom, and this one's a little bit more matured. Except I say bottom, sorry, I've got to correct myself. It's not a bottom, 1, 2, 3 stage. See, it has failed to come back down to this low. So it's had a run down to this low. It's failed to come back down to it. Which means to me that if it starts to breach this 16k sats and starts heading upwards, we're looking for another bull run. Oh, it's exciting seeing these formations coming back because I missed them for a few weeks. SDR, Stellar, traveled sideways here for a bit. 1, 2, 3 bottom. Of course, it's not a bottom, but it's how I remember it, and it's by no means a guarantee. Look, we've had very similar situations occur before. One, you can look at this one. You can look at this one as a 1, 2, 3. Strong bullish trend here, and as it's creeping upwards, it's not until it actually breaches the previous 2 that I even consider buying. It's not until it breaches this point, and for this scenario, I would want to wait and see if it breaches the 5k sats. Greater than 5,000 equals bull run. Stratus, 1, 2, 3 stage platform there, and now of course we're getting these new lows. So pop a watch on that one. Probably heading in a bearish direction. We'll have a look. I did say last week that I was bullish and support at 145. Excuse me. However, that definitely did not eventuate. That is probably the worst call I've made in my life. Not really. But yeah, that was dead wrong. So I get a few right, but I also get a few wrong. And vert coin now, downward trend. Sold some of my vert coin at this point. I think last week around here, I was like, okay, I'm done. You've broke my heart too many times, vert. See you later. So I'm going to wait until this stage is right and buy some more. Of course, when we look at the chart, we could see, hang on a second, maybe this is staging for a 1, 2, 3 increase, but we need to wait until it passes this 46k sats mark before we can consider buying it. And even then, of course, using caution by putting a small amount of your position on first before adding to your position if it goes in the way that I thought it would go. 1, 2, 3 staging formation, and it's broken, and now it's heading in an upward direction. Counterparty, we did see a nice run up here, but not a huge run up like we saw in a lot of the other altcoins. I guess in a way that's good. We see that the investors in Counterparty are a little more conservative. I mean, it's still crazy volatile, but might be a different opportunity here. So we see a little bit of a trend upwards, and of course right now it's very close to that support, so I would guess that it's probably bearish in the coming week, for a week or so. XMR. Monero. Oh, this looks good. I mean, we last week, I know that I drew this, it wasn't last week, I think it was probably the time before that. Last week we were about here, bullish to 0.34, didn't quite reach there. I was saying that here. I mean, I've been wrong many times on XMR, and take what I say with a grain of salt, because of course I'm invested in XMR. I like Monero. I think it's long-term hold. Trading wise though, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So we do see a trend line upwards. We do see a resistance point here where it's touched twice at 31. Really, we need to see it break this 0.032 mark. 32, let's say greater than symbol in that. Greater than 0.02 equals bull run. Now let me tell you, with this coin, in my opinion, if it does break that 0.032, it's going to explode. It'll get some media attention, which it hasn't had. It'll get some attention on trading outlets and forums, and possibly go to nice new highs, which it hasn't seen in a long time. So I have to wait and see on that one. As I said before, I'm very biased on that coin. I like it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 top. That's what I said here, where it didn't breach, so we can delete these. And lower, I mean higher lows. Every time it's coming back down, it's going upwards. Very strong resistance at this point. Around 10k sats, XPM. Really needs to get above 10k sats for bull run. XRP. People got very excited about this coin for a while. I think it's one of the biggest newbie mistakes is to get into coins that are cheap on paper because you can buy a lot of them. And ultimately a lot of newbies don't look at the market cap. This is a cheap coin, but only because it's got so many coins out there. It's like Dogecoin in a lot of ways. You know, it's got a lot of coins, and therefore it's really cheap. That doesn't mean that it's going to be going to the same heights as Bitcoin or even close to that. You need to look at the market cap. And I mean, technically speaking, these lower highs isn't good. It kind of held above that trend line for a minute there, but failed to breach it, and ultimately has gone back beneath this level of support. I would say I'm bearish on Ripple until at least this point here, at least 9,500, possibly even 7,800, the previous one. Possibly to, let's say 8,000, because it's right around there, and I did say that last week as well. Let's raise that line up a little. There we go. Alright, the last one here, Zcash. Just checking the chat now to see if there's any other recommendations for me to, if you want me to take a look at any other coins, let me know. Nothing in the chat there. Zcash, it's gone on a bull run. I was never a huge fan of this coin, but bearish to 0.044. Well, I can't say I was wrong there. 16, it definitely went to hit that line and it's gone lower still. Where will it go next? Who knows? This possibly these resistance, these support lines here. I mean, it's got a lot of support around these levels, really. Realistically, it's sitting on a support line too. I'll have to put a watch on that and see what happens. Hit file save on that, and I will see y'all next time. Leave a comment and let me know what you think and where you guys are at in your journey, and I'll see you next time. Peace.